Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And once again, thank each and every one of you for coming in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I truly, truly appreciate it. So look, what are we going to talk about today? I'm going to jump right to it. We're going to talk about trade lines. And the reason I brought this up for today was because I was actually having a conversation, not even a conversation. I was doing a presentation with a room full of young men, and young and old, young men talking about credit, of course. And one of the questions that came up was, what's a trade line, and how does that impact your credit score? And he was kind of talking about authorized user, even though he was using the word trade line. Now, I answered that question in this presentation. I answered that question for him. However, I noticed, and if you're doing presentations and, every once in a while you get a chance to kind of hear what people are saying while you're doing your presentation, I know that his buddy sitting next to him was questioning trade lines versus authorized users, and he wasn't really clear, or he had a mistaken idea about what a trade line was and exactly what I was saying. So it's actually been bothering me for a while. I mean, I did this presentation last year. I know it's new in 2019, but I did this presentation in 2018 in the latter part of the year, and it's been bugging me a little bit because I didn't get to answer his question, or at least clarify, so that young man could know exactly what I was talking about. So today, I'm going to let you guys know what I'm talking about. He's probably not listening, but I'm going to let you guys know exactly what the difference is, and hopefully it'll be totally, totally clear for you from now on. Trade lines versus authorized users. We're also going to get into a good question of the day as well. We're going to talk about what should you do if a collection agency comes calling you. What should you do? What shouldn't you do? So we're going to talk about that as well, of course. So look, I got some shout outs to do. I got to do a couple of shout outs. So I got to shout out, let me shout out Kyla King. I got to shout out Kyla King first. It's always got to be a relative on the show. So that's my cousin, you guys. She celebrated her birthday on yesterday. So happy birthday to you, Kyla King. Yes, another KK. So happy birthday to you, Kyla. I got to shout out Kaylee Bacon as well. She celebrates a birthday. And Caleb Bacon. These are brother and sister. No, they are not twins, but their birthdays are really close together and a few years apart. So happy birthday to both Kaylee and Caleb as well. And then a really, really good friend of mine, owner of Cute as a Cupcake, I got to shout out Michelle Wainwright as well. She celebrated her birthday, member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So happy birthday to you, Michelle Wainwright, as well. All right, so let's jump into this thing about trade lines and really what's the deal with them. So basically, everything's a trade line. So your car and that note that's on your credit report, that's a trade line. Your mortgage, that's a trade line. Your credit card, that's a trade line. It's on your credit report. Now, typically, if you have been listening, or you're halfway into credit, or you've heard before about trying to correct or repair your credit, you might have heard trade lines before. And typically in that context, what people are talking about is you purchasing a trade line. I'm putting up air quotes in the studio. You purchasing a trade line from a person or a company that will go onto your credit report, and supposedly it's supposed to help boost your credit score. That's what typically people are talking about when they say trade line. But in all honesty, everything is a trade line. So all of those different accounts that you have on your credit report, whether it's a student loan or that car note, like I said, or a mortgage or a credit card, that is a trade line. But when they're talking about trade lines, typically, and this is kind of where I think the confusion happened in this particular presentation, was trade line versus, just something that's on your credit report. And the young man that was asking the question was not talking about the kinds of trade lines where you go buy them and place them on your credit report. He wasn't talking about that. So since trade lines can be purchased, and let me just break this down for you right quick as well. So are they the same? Are trade lines and authorized users the same? Are they the same? So No, they're not the same. They do work in the same way a little bit in regards to your score, but they are not the same. So let me break down the trade line portion for you. So here's what happens in the real world when it comes to trade lines. So you have a place or entity, a person that says, hey, I can get a trade line for you. I can put it on your credit report. It's going to boost your credit score. So you're saying, well, why is this going to boost my credit score? Just like an authorized user, you take an account that has a long history and you stick it on your credit report and it shows that you've been making on time payments for the last 4 or 5 years, then that's going to help your credit score. Having a positive trade line on your credit report is going to help boost your credit score. Really doesn't matter if you have a thin credit file, which is, you don't have a lot of accounts on there, or if you have a lot of accounts on there, but your score is low for whatever reason. Yes, that's going to help your credit score when you do that. So what happens with trade lines is um, you purchase them basically. You purchase them, you have a quote unquote contract, you purchase them from somebody, and they place these accounts on your credit report. It doesn't say on your credit report that you're an authorized user. It doesn't say that this is a quote unquote trade line that has been added to your credit report. It appears on your credit report as if it's yours. It could be joint, it could be individual, but it appears that it's on your credit report and it's yours, and you've paid perfectly on that particular account for a number of years, because that's going to help your credit report, right? And that's going to help your credit score. So that's what it shows. Now here's how you get a trade line though. So you go to this place, so you find a guy on the internet or whatever it is, and they add a trade line to your credit report. You're going to pay them to do so. So this amount can vary. So this amount could be $600 to add this one trade line to your credit report. This amount could be $1,000. This amount could be up to $2,500 for them to add it to your credit report. You just never know. It's kind of whatever the person that your company you're getting it from says what it is. So that's what you can do. You can pay for it to go into your credit report. Now, again, since it helps boost your score, and that's your whole point and purpose for doing this, then that's why people do it. I don't suggest it. I don't particularly like it. There's only one situation, maybe two different situations where I can think of where you should add a trade line to your credit report. But this is what I get all the time, because people hear about trade lines and, they call me and we're talking about, credit in general, and I'm answering specific questions for them, and they're asking about, well, can I add a trade line to my credit report? Well, that's not what I do. I don't add trade lines to people's credit reports. I will never add a trade line to anybody's credit report, not because I can't, not because I don't have the resources to do it, not because I don't have the contacts to do it, because it's not helpful to you in the long run. And what do I mean by that? The reason I say it's not helpful in the long run, because those trade lines that you purchase are temporary. They are temporary. Now, authorized user could potentially be temporary as well, but those trade lines are definitely temporary. So you don't get that to stay on your credit report forever. I don't care if you pay the $600 or the $2,500. It doesn't stay on your credit report forever. It may stay on your credit report for 6 months. It may stay for 9 months or maybe even a year, but it's temporary. And so once that trade comes off, okay, let's say once that trade goes on your credit report, then it boosts your score, how many ever points that is. When it comes off your credit report, it's common sense to think that your credit score is going to go back down. Once that trade line is gone, that trade line is gone. It's like it never appeared there, so you don't get the help that you were getting in the first place. They are temporary. That's one of the reasons I don't like trade lines. And you absolutely don't learn anything. I wouldn't do the 800 Credit Score Man show if I wasn't trying to teach and educate people and give them some knowledge around this whole credit situation, because this is not temporary. Using your credit on a monthly basis is very very good for your financial health altogether. So in every phase of your life, whether you're a young person just coming out of college or just going into college, or if you're somebody long in the tooth and you're about to retire, wherever you are, your credit is important to you and your financial picture. So that's why I don't like trade lines personally. Now, here's the only place where I say, maybe two places where I say that you should get a trade line. So like I said, people are asking me, hey, I want to get a trade line, and because they want a boost in their credit, but they're not doing anything with with their credit at this particular time. They're just going to get this boost. So I don't know why you want a boost if you're at a 700, or if let's say you're at a 650 and you get a boost of say 50 points, and now you're at 700. Why you after adding a trade line? Why do you want it if you're not doing anything with it? I mean, when I say doing anything with it, if you're not using your credit to go ahead and purchase something, and that's going to help you get it at a lower cost or a lower interest rate, a lower monthly payment, then what's the purpose of doing that since it's temporary? So since those trade lines are temporary, it makes no sense at all for you to just go get it because it's January and it's the beginning of the year just so you can boost your credit. So if you're just going to get it so you can, take your snapshot on your phone and post it to Facebook, then that doesn't do you any good. It's not worth the money that you're going to pay for it when it comes to that trade line. So that's why I say I don't particularly like them. Now, if you're going to do something and it's really, really crucial for you, then this might be the only time you would add a trade line. But you still have to be careful. So if you're going to get a mortgage, if you're going to go buy a home and your credit score is below par, and if you can move it, 50 points or 60 points, you're going to get the best interest rate out there, or you're going to get a much better interest rate than you would where you stand today, then you might want to add a trade line. Now, here's the caveat to that. When you go into your mortgage place, that's going to be on your credit report, right? So whatever that it says that payment is for that particular trade line, then that's counted against you in your debt to income as well. So you may put yourself in a worse situation, even though your credit score will boost, but maybe whatever that payment is, it hurts your debt to income ratio, and then now you still don't qualify for that loan. So you got to think about those things when you go to add a trade line. But if you were going to get a mortgage and say you were going to pay a 5% rate, but if you were able to boost your credit score 50 or 60 points, and now you're going to get a 3.85% rate, then that might be worth it. It might be worth it, depending on how much the trade line is going to cost you. If it's going to cost you $2,200, then that's probably more than what the interest that you would pay if you were between, the 5% and the 3.85. So you've got to take all of these things into account. So if you're going to get a mortgage, then boom, maybe you want to go ahead and do a trade line. If you were, say, a trucker, you're going to start your own trucking business. You're going to buy your own 18-wheeler, and you've got bad credit, but you can get this 18-wheeler if you boost your credit score a little bit. This is going to be your occupation. This is going to be, you're going to own this particular company and this truck, and you're going to make a gob of money doing so. You might want to add a trade line. You might want to add a trade line so you can get that to help your career and help your income. You might want to add a trade line prior to going out to buying your truck. Because like I said, they're temporary. So it's only going to stay on there 6 months, maybe 9 months. It'll stay on your credit report. So you might want to go ahead and add a trade line if you're going to do this transaction in between the time. If in between the time you're going to do this transaction, you might want to go ahead and add a trade line to your credit report and help it boost it. And again, it always depends on how much money you're going to pay for this particular trade line to get that done. So they're temporary. Those are the only 2 times that I can think of that I would do a trade line. But if you're just doing a trade line because you want to go buy a car, and maybe you'll go buy a car in the next 6 months, while that trade line is still on your credit report, I'm going to suggest that you not do it. I mean, the interest rates that you'll pay between the differences are probably not that much. Definitely not as much as $1,500 or $2,000. It's probably not that much when you go buy a car. So it's just not worth it financially to do so. So that's why I don't like trade lines and myself. They are similar. Like I said, they're very, very similar to authorized user in some aspects, and we're going to get to that as well on the other side of the question of the day. So it's almost halfway through the show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple more shout outs. We're going to do the question of the day. Then I'll come back with authorized users. And actually, you know what? Before I do that, I need to tell you guys. So last week I mentioned, the government shutdown is going on and that Chase would be helping you out. So if you got a Chase account and you've got issues with you can't pay because you're a federal employee, you're being impacted by the shutdown, Chase is trying to help people out. So call Chase. I don't think I gave out the number last week. So the Chase number is 888-356-0023. Call Chase at 888-356-0023. If you have a Chase account, you are a federal employee and you're being impacted